Hey there, everybody. Sue Gaddy here, host of another episode of Training That Doesn't Suck for people that care as much about participants as I do, right? It's very easy to be an expert, right? To cultivate all your years of experience. But when you make the leap and choose to create a program for someone else, you're kind of back in the beginning. And the fact of the matter is we don't always know what works. Remember, we know all the answers. It's really hard to put ourselves back in that beginning phase of being the newbie, of being the participant, and being able to solve the skill, the will, and the knowledge issues that most people experience when they're learning something new. So you know that we started this channel so that we could help those of you just getting started to get started quicker with the lessons of everything that we've built. And we love to connect with already successful program owners because we know the better you get at thinking like your participant, the better result you're going to get. So if you fit either one of those categories and you really care about helping your participants to get better results, buckle in because I've got 3 shocking things that we found out in this process of building the first version that you can tweak 2 or 3 times. So welcome and hello, who's ever joining us. I'm so happy to see you today. But we don't just, we didn't just make this up. This is how we do it, right? So at the Disruptive Spark Academy, we have a wonderful program called How to Build a Results-Based Training Program with Our Formula that we started running. I mean, we've been doing this one-on-one for many, many years. But it's very expensive and we wanted to open it up to more people. So we're like, how good can we get at like condensing this into a handful of weeks that can help someone to get their program up and running even quicker. So we did the first version. We called that our pilot, and we did the second version. And the second version has been with live audiences now for about 6 months, and we've possibly gone through about 40 people or so. And here are some of the biggest things that we learned. We made some massive tweaks and changes, and I'm literally showing you like this is what happens, right? You build it and you break it. You build it and you break it, and that's how you get things much, much better. So I boiled it down into the top 3 things that we changed going forward with this program. The first thing that we found out is a lot of it actually wasn't helpful. How about that, right? You think that if I give more, show more, tell them more, put more description in them, give them more videos, right? The more I give, the better it's going to be. Exactly the opposite. Do you know what actually happens when you give too much? You confuse, you overwhelm, and go back to what we know about sales. A confused mind always says no. So when somebody opens something up, if it really overwhelms them, the likelihood of them using it actually goes way down. So the biggest thing we did in this book, this was like a 26-page book. It's 12 pages. 12. We dumped everything that wasn't the most immediate value that got people to the next level as quickly as possible. Now, I'll save another day to tell you what we do about that, what we do with that information, because it is important, right? It just didn't belong here. This is my get started, right? So it didn't belong here, it belonged in another place. Stick around, we'll do another video on that another day. So the first thing that I always tell people that they are surprised by is write out your outline and dump 50% of it. And the thought that people go through is, but they need it. But I want to tell them this, right? It's like this whole idea of wanting to push more out. But honestly, the gift you can get people is how clear and succinct and concise that you can be in what you say and how you say it, that you can pull out 50% of the content. So that's really what we did, actually probably even more than 50% of the book. So that was the first thing. And this is just like an example, right? We went through every single page and we're like, could we dump the whole page? And if we couldn't dump the whole page, how much of the content could we take out? That's what happened. The second thing that we did that we thought was genius, by the way, we thought we were so creative and so fancy, and that we were removing a barrier. We've been playing around with this idea of linking the video to a little icon. So that's what we did in this first version. But as we tested it out, what we found is that no one even knew these were clickable. They just, and if you look at some of the pages, actually on some of the pages, right, here's this one here. There's like a couple of them. And on some of the pages, there's like 3 or 4 different icons. And people are not used to knowing that those icons are clickable. So this next time around, the ones that have a video attached to them, an audio that we want them to listen to, we made it big. So it takes up this whole corner, and we changed the color. It's green. So when you hold open this page, it literally stands out. We know it's going to attract someone's eye. So we had put in like this little system we thought was really cool, but it needed a tweak because it actually didn't work. Nobody clicked the button. So it wasn't really helpful at all. So that was like the second big thing. The third one I'm going to tell you about was the difference between pretty versus functional. Now, if you follow me at all, you know that I believe design is almost as important, if not more important, than the words that you choose, because how it's laid out, the visual look of it, the emotional connection it makes to someone is what aids in memory, is what makes things attractive, is the reason you want to pick something up, right? The look of what you say is every bit as important as the words that you're using. But in this instance, we made the blueprint, which is the end goal, right? In this program, we actually help people to create their outline that they can literally go out and start working on. But we made it beautiful, but it became not functional. So we had all these issues. These are fillable PDFs, but we had so many problems. Our clients had so many problems. They couldn't save their work. When they saved their work, they couldn't change their work. There wasn't enough space, right? It wasn't actually a very usable page. What they really needed was this plain old simple word template that is really customizable. So the change we made to this page is we had a watermark put over it that says sample. So we have the sample in here, and then we made this part up here where you could click to download your own Word document. So it's there, they can see it, they know it exists, but we made it easy for them to get the copy that we actually want them working on. I would say that's true overall of this entire book. Like, we thought, how great would it be to have a book you never had to download, right? Nobody really wants to print things, is what we were thinking. They can write everything in here, they can save it. And it's a good idea, but in practical application, we find personally that they wanted to download the book. They wanted to be able to take notes. They wanted to be able to write, and that it wasn't, the PDFing didn't work properly, right? So they would write notes and then they couldn't change it. We had clients that spent all this time figuring out like a step, writing it all in, and then they didn't save it and it was missing. So we're no longer really focusing on the fact that these are fillable PDFs. And we made it a lot easier and printer friendly moving forward. So that was the second big one. First one, for those of you who are joining, so good to see you. Too much information is actually not a benefit. It's what causes overwhelm and shutdown, and it directly impacts how many people are actually finishing your program. So pull out as much content as possible. Another day we'll talk about what to do with it. The second big aha was that, we build in these little tricky things, right? Like clickable icons and fillable PDFs, but honestly, they're not really that effective. They're not actually what people want at all. So we pulled out the fillable PDF part. We gave them access to the templates they really needed. And if there was something we did want them to click, we made it really noticeable. Remember, like, we look at this all the time. Our team is talking about this all the time. But when somebody sees it for the first time, can they really make sense of what you've done? I'm always shocked to find out how much they don't get. Right? So why are we putting it all in there? It's not helpful anyway. And then the last thing that I wanted to just share with you is that, the simpler you make something, the more likely people are to be able to complete the activity that you want them to take. And I want to show you how this looked for us. So we used to have, in step 2, we had, if you look at this, we had 1, 2, 3, and then 4 things that you needed to do to accomplish the step. And quite frankly, this is really a big one. So in our new design of this book, what we found and what participants told us when we asked them, by the way, you have to ask people, they won't necessarily just tell you, but when you ask them and you give people permission to tell you what they like and don't like because they think it's helpful, they will. So ask. We ask all day long, and we ask in a lot of different ways. I'll do a video on that soon for you about how we ask, because there's an art to that, of course. But what we found was that this was too much to focus on in one step. We wanted to make it easier. So we actually separated this into 2 steps. So now this is step 2. And these things are completely connected, and they lead right into this. So that's really easy. There's one video. There's 3 things here that they need to do. They're all really connected. It makes a lot of sense. This is higher level thinking, right? If you don't have this done, you actually can't move on to this step. Ours is a step program. So when we teach people to write programs, they're either steps or systems. So if you want to learn more about that, let me know. We do some great training on the difference between a step program versus a system program. But what our clients told us was that if they didn't nail this part, they struggled like crazy here. So okay, great. Let's fix that for you. Let's make it even easier for you to be successful, right? That's always our goal. How easy can we make it, right? How goof-proof, how simple can we make it for you to achieve the success that you want to desire, or that you desire? And again, for us, this program is people want to create a really great training program that changes lives, right? That adds impact. So how do we do that? We're going to teach them how to do this part. And then we help them build their framework. And this is the last thing I'm going to leave you with, because this is true for our clients. It's probably true for you. It's true for everyone who is building something for the first time, really. We see this more in the first time. But if you don't have confidence in your framework, you will not be as successful standing up in front of a group of people sharing it. It's just human nature. It's just true. The more confident you are that your program can achieve success, the more open you are to share, the better rapport you have with your clients, the less fearful you feel. It's a completely different shift. As a matter of fact, confidence is our measure of success. What we found running this a bunch of times is it was the single item that was consistent across everybody, right? So there were all kinds of reasons that people needed us, but the one consistent thing was they did not feel confident to take their ideas and turn them into a program that they could sell, or that they could pitch in their company, or that they could build for their community, whatever the place was. So we know that when you figure out if it's steps or systems and you have the basic outline for that, you don't have to feel obligated to create every piece of content to go with it. And why is that important? Because content is your most expensive and most time-consuming part of any program. And the truth is, we talked about this in the first section, so go back if you didn't get to see this before, but the truth is, you actually don't know what content your people will need until you start running it. Like this is, so we teach people, build the first version that you can tweak 2 or 3 more times. But if you don't feel confident in what you have to offer, you will be less likely to offer it. So there you have it. So good to see everybody joining on. This was, I'm going to give you a quick recap. We're talking about the top 3 things we learned in running our own program that were quite frankly shocking, right? They were shocking. They weren't what we expected at all. We thought the more pages in our book, the better, which wasn't true. It was actually very overwhelming. So we reduced about 50% of the book. And I just want to show you some example. We went through every page and said, what can we take out? Not what can we add, what can we take out? We didn't add anything to this program, by the way. We took out as much as we could. So we did that. We found that the cute little tricky things we thought people were gonna like were not effective at all. So we linked a bunch of videos, but nobody even knew we did it. So we made some changes there. We made our book a fillable PDF disaster. People don't know how to use it. They lost work. They got stuck in the process. Disaster. We pulled all that out. And then the third thing that we really did was we said, how do we make it even easier? And by doing that, we actually took one step and turned it into two, so that they could do step one and gain the foundational knowledge that they needed in order to be able to do the next part. And separating those two and letting them take them one step at a time actually significantly increased our success rates for this year. So there you have it, my friends. Whether you're just getting started, creating a training program, or whether you've created lots of training programs, it really is when you get so good at looking at what is happening from the participant perspective that you start to create training programs that are so simple and so easy and so crystal clear that success is inevitable. And that's really what we want, right? It's creating a training program is not for us. We already know how to do this. We want to help other people do what we already know how to do. So if you want to do that, you can't think from your perspective. You got to put yourself in the participant's shoes, and they need your knowledge, they need skill, and they need you to help them through all the barriers to success. I hope you join in again soon, and I really encourage you to tag a friend or bring your development person along with you, because there is so much more goodness that we have to offer. Take care. Talk to you soon.